Hey everybody, welcome back to Sprague Woodturning. So in this week's video, we're going to continue on with the Inlay series. Now this is a piece of walnut that has a very large crack in it, as you can see. Flip this around, you can see that better. Anyway, it goes all the way down, almost completely around the bowl. So what we're going to have to do with this is rough turn this on the lathe as it is. Fingers crossed that it stays together. I might throw some tape on the outside of it, so if you do see tape on the outside of it, that's just an effort to try and hold it together. But anyway, it should be okay, but I don't know, you never know. I'm not exactly sure. I might take some branches and lay them in here like I do with a lot of bowls, and then fill this, after this crack's all cleaned out, fill it in with either white alabaster. I might even use some brass shavings. It looks quite nice in black walnut. But anyway, that's what this week's video is. It's second video in the series. And yeah, if you like what you see, consider subscribing if you're new here. Anyway, let's get to the lathe and get turning. Okay, now that we've got everything all cleaned out, we're ready for the inlay. So what I do is I take duct tape, any cheap old duct tape will work, put it on the outside and around the face of the rim. And then that way when you put the inlay material in, it doesn't first of all fall out. And then I always pour the glue from the inside of the bowl, and then that way it flows through the inlay, and of course the tape keeps it from running out. Now when you put it on there, don't put it on super tight because it'll indent into the groove, and we don't want that. Just kind of put it on there a little loosely. And then put down the edges. If it's bumped out this way, that's fine. That's not going to bother anything because you're going to trim that away anyway. And of course, wrap it around. Again, try and get any big grooves out of it. There we go. If you want, you can cut any excess off. Make sure that it is down tight, because if it isn't, the glue will leak. That's it. It's real technical. As you can see, this is my inlay table. There's all kinds. I think there's around 30 different types of inlays that I do. So what I do is I've got a steel plate and a hammer. Obviously, that's what I do to smash this up. Now this is a piece of 4-inch pipe that's been cut short, and that sits on top of the steel plate. I put the material in there that I want to crush into a powder and then hammer it down. That way it stays within here. Once it's been hammered down into a small matrix, I run it through this sieve, pushing it through. I find that when you're doing these inlays, especially if you're going for a solid looking inlay, as opposed to an inlay that has maybe shell in it where there's some voids and it's just filled in with glue, that it's best to have it no bigger than, say, what it is here. That way it just looks more uniform when it's solidified into a solid mass again with the CA glue. So in my last video, I used the blue soapstone, so I think I'll put that away, but I think what we'll do is we're going to use the white alabaster. And that's all I've done with this. It's a real fine powder. So I'll put it in layers. Again, I apologize if you can't see that well. So what I do is I just put it down in the groove, and I don't pack it in there. The only place that I'm going to really try and this helps as well, just kind of wrap on the bowl. And that way you'll see that it goes down inside the groove. And on the other side, I don't want an indent, so I am going to have to push that down just a little bit. I find tools like this. That's a little pick tool, mechanics pick tool. So I'll just go in and push that down to make sure that the tape on the backside isn't in like this. I want it, if anything, bulged out. Just got to do a little bit more in the rim area. And of course, it's important to keep things as clean as you can. I've cleaned the whole surface off here. This is a piece of cardboard that's got, as you can see, lots of duct tape on it. Over the years, I've been using this thing for probably 10 years, and I just keep putting layers of tape on it. And I can fold this up and then pour it back into this when, you know, the stuff that's unused. Because some of the materials that I use are expensive, like lapis. Lapis is not something that you want to waste. This white alabaster, you can get it fairly cheap. Same with the soapstone. Starbond thin. Thin CA glue is important here, and just saturate it with it. And it's all right if it's a little more above the surface. And to ensure that it's poking through, you can actually take this and just kind of mess it around a bit, and then that way you know that the glue has penetrated through the inlay. Don't want any dry spots. Add some more. And just keep filling the inlay to the top. And what I like to do is just do the upper part of the bowl and then hit it with the accelerator to kind of cure it in place, and then you can elevate the bowl back and then fill in all this. So again, don't spare the glue. Make sure it gets a good soaking of it. Accelerator. That's probably sitting long enough. As you can see, it's a little proud of the surface, which is what I want. It's not exactly what I want it there, but once we trim that up, that'll be fine. Again, if you want to, you can put a little bit of glue in the crack first. I typically find there's no need for that. Again, just knock on the bowl. And like I said, just be careful not to contaminate your inlays with stuff. It's kind of irritating to do an inlay like this and then find out you've got a piece of walnut in there or something like that. So just pour off the excess. Still need to put some more in here. There. Now, hit it with the glue again. And I'm very confident that when this hardens, I'll have no problem standing in front of this. I know that it's not going to explode on me. And again, just keep dumping the inlay material on it until you get all the voids filled. Just want to give her a little bit more. And again, this stuff, when it cures, it can be really aggressive, hard on your eyes. You certainly don't want to breathe it in, that's for sure. The fumes come off this quite bad. So use it in a well-ventilated area. I'm inside here with the doors closed, but ordinarily I wouldn't be, or else you guys wouldn't be able to hear anything with traffic going by. So anyway, I think that's probably good. It's probably not going to saturate much more past that. And as you can see, look at that, see? That's the other thing. You gotta be careful because I remember the first time that I did an inlay, I had my hand like this, and I was pouring glue in here, and I never realized that the crack went right through the bowl, and it literally welded my hand completely around the bowl. Luckily, I had a release agent to get my hand off, or else I'd probably still be missing some skin. So anyway, be aware that can come through, but that tells me that glue went all the way through that inlay, so that's good. That's exactly what we want. And I'm actually going to just give this a little touch up here again. Now I could groove this out on this side and inlay it as well, but I think we're just going to leave that the way it is. This is probably hard enough now that I can take tape off and get a look at it. And see now there's some voids, so that's another reason why I do pull the tape off. And there, it's a little dry there. But it's probably not, yeah, it's hardly took any glue, so. And the accelerator. Fill this one up too. And this stuff can stain the wood. One way around that would be to turn it and then put a coat of finish on it. And then that way the glue won't, you know, migrate onto the other pieces of the bowl that you don't want it to. I plan on putting this back on the lathe and turning it, so I'm not really too concerned about that. I'll end up turning away any ingrain that's got any of the glue in it. So yeah, that's it. Now, an inlay like this, it's probably best to leave it overnight. I might be able to do it later on today, but if you leave it overnight, you know for sure that it's going to be cured and you're not going to pull any of the inlay material out because the glue's not fully cured on it. But anyway, that is basically how you do an inlay on the side. And I got some more voids here, so I want to do that. Again, don't spare the glue. I know it's expensive. And the way it will go with this is I'll probably have to inlay this probably 2 or 3 times to fix any voids or cavities that you may expose when you turn it, even when you sand it. So I'll probably at least have to do it another 2 times, 3 sometimes. Anyway, that's basically how the inlays are done. On the side, anyway. Okay, so everything's been sanded to 240, and I know that some of you are probably wondering, they're concerned about getting staining on the end grain of this. And this is one thing that you can do, and this is just an electrical tape that I've basically gone right along the inlay on both sides. Make sure that it's securely in place. Same thing on the inside. Same deal, it goes all the way down here, and then that way, you know, I'm not too concerned about anything down in here because this is all kind of side grain down in here. But up near the ends, you certainly can get some staining from the glue. So that's one way to address it. And yeah, you could use epoxies with this as well, resins. And like I said, it's on my list of things to do here. There, we'll let that sit up for a little bit. And go back to the lathe and sand it off, get ready for finish. Okay, so the best parts here, the finish, first coat of finish. So I like to use salad bowl finish by General Finishes. I put it in these squeeze bottles. I just find it's easier to use. So the first coat, I really saturate the wood. Love that first coat finish. And I'm a shiny finish guy. This is, I believe, a resin urethane mix, so it's very durable. It'll get typically 3 coats. That's what it will get to get the kind of shine that I prefer. You could probably just do the 1 coat and be done with it. In between coats, I use either 4-0 steel wool or Scotch Brite pads from 3M. So I'll let this sit overnight. And then tomorrow, hopefully I can put 2nd and 3rd coat on it. And then the next day, cut it off, do the foot, and then it's done. I always like to put a light inlay in with a dark wood and vice versa. But that's how you can save a bowl. Okay, so that's it for this week's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I got the bowl here. I still got to put one more coat of finish on the bottom. But that is essentially what the inlay looks like. I would get a lot of pieces like this that would actually split from cracking. This was a natural void and then it opened up to a larger diameter than what it was. So anyway, I figured there's got to be a way of saving these pieces, and this is long before resins and epoxies and all that kind of stuff. So I started using soapstone and alabaster, brass shavings, stuff that you can actually tool on a lathe. Just you know, if you do try this, that it will take the edge off your tool a lot quicker than turning normal wood. But yeah, if you get a chance, head over to Facebook and Instagram at Sprague Woodturning and check me out there and follow along. That'd be much appreciated. And the same thing, if you like what you've seen, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that as well. So next week, I'm going to carry on with the Inlay series. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be. Stay tuned and stay safe out there, okay? We'll see you next week.